Hey, this is Johnny Yong Bosch, and you're watching Brian Awesome.
Oh, there we go. Just kidding. I wasn't saying anything. Happy Sunday.
Alright!
You're like, woo! Good job, guys. Did you enjoy your weekend? Yeah! Awesome. Well, thanks for coming. David Vincent's already gone. He took off, so I thought he was going to be in this panel too, but he failed.
No.
He's afraid of Ichigo. That's what it is.
You should
No, thanks for coming. I honestly didn't think anybody was going to be here because it felt like it was over. But I'm glad you're here. This is just a Bleach Q&A. We can talk about anything. I mean, we don't have to stick to just Bleach. If you want to talk about other stuff, we can do that as well. But I'm sure you have some Bleach questions. I'll go ahead and get this out of the way. I don't know anything about the continuation of Bleach. I know that's going to be the question, but I do know, remember when they made that announcement, which I think it was like 2018, that they were, going to finish out the rest of the arc or whatever. And then, of course, COVID happened, so maybe they got pushed back a year. So who knows? Hopefully we get to do that, and I would, of course, love to come back as Ichigo, but we're not even at that stage yet, so no one's talked to us about it. But I definitely would love to, and I'm sure the rest of the cast would as well. But yeah, any questions? Let's go for this. Yeah.
What is your favorite Bleach opening?
The only one I talked about this yesterday. The only one I really remember is the first one.
Yeah.
It gets stuck in my head. I don't even know the words. It's like, but it was cool. It had like cool, the visuals as well. Yes.
Favorite arc.
Favorite arc. Oh man.
Or least favorite if you got one.
Least favorite's probably easier, but
You can say filler, we won't judge.
I'm not a huge fan of the filler stuff, but I had to find a way to like it so that I didn't sound, bored the whole time, right? So, I definitely, I don't know, I guess the first arc really, that really drew me in. It took me a while because I didn't watch the show. I watched the show once I like booked it. I was like, well, I gotta check this out because I need to know what's going on, who this character is. And it took me a few episodes to get into it because it was like I didn't know who was important. But once they revealed all the characters, that core group, and then Ichigo, and then the whole story with Rukia, it's like, is he gonna save her? And I remember it was like 1 week or whatever it was. I just watched through like 60 episodes, like up all night, like watching it. Is he gonna get her? That really got me into it. I was like, all right, this is cool. This is gonna be fun. But I did have fun throughout. He's just a fun character to play. I did feel like that's one of the characters that I do feel like I could just kind of be myself in that role, Not that I'm exactly like him, but I felt like I could be very much myself in that. Just fun to be Ichigo, yeah. Yes?
Is he your favorite character in the film?
I mean, he's one of them for sure. I have a lot of favorites. Again, that's another thing where, everybody always says, how can I choose my favorite child? But there's so many that I really enjoyed, and each one of them are so different. But Ichigo is definitely one of my favorites for sure, and one of the ones where, like, even after a long time, I know that's a character I could just plug right into. I don't have to like do a whole lot of research, to find out where he was. Yes.
Who was your favorite character to interact while in character?
Gosh, well, there were a lot of moments that I enjoyed. Like I enjoyed some of the moments with Rukia and her terrible drawings and that kind of stuff. Rukia, why do your drawings suck so bad? Or like where she's like trying to show him stuff, and he's like, yeah. He's not even paying attention to it. Some of the silliness is fun, but then I do like even some of those darker, a little more serious moments. Or with, of course, like that. I didn't know I was going to voice Hollow Ichigo as well. So finding out like the day of recording that I was like, hey, because in the script it said White Ichigo. So I was like, who's voicing White Ichigo? And they're like, you are. And I was like, oh, I better figure this out. So that was tricky, but also kind of like fun to try to figure out how am I going to do this where I'm talking to myself, But that was fun too. Kenpachi's cool. Just anytime Byakuya, every time you meet those characters for the first time, and then you find then they build a relationship, like with Renji. Yeah, it's just a lot of fun. Yeah.
Have you read any of the arc that takes place after the anime?
I am familiar with quite a bit of it. I haven't read fully, like straight through, but everyone has told me. Everyone's kind of spoiled it for me, but it's not a bad thing. It's fine. It's totally fine. And it's one of those things where I kind of know quite a bit of what's going to happen. I have not seen the newest edition that they just released. I've signed it a couple of times, but I have not seen it and looked into it. I've just asked questions.
Do you know about the ending?
I do. Well, the ending that was very Naruto?
Yes.
Yeah. That's my reaction to that ending. I was like, but why? Why did you do that? It just seemed like it's just ready to be like, all right, fine, here, it's done. But I'm really excited that they're picking it up again and doing something cool with it. Yes?
Thoughts on the Yoruichi twist?
Yoruichi?
Yeah, when you found out that the black cat was actually the woman.
Yes, who was always like half naked.
Yeah.
Those are fun moments, for sure, yeah. That's Wendy, right? Isn't Wendy Lee the voice of Yoruichi? I think she is.
So.
Yeah, that's fun. Yes?
What are your, how do you feel about voicing the new Broly?
Okay. Comes with a lot of baggage. That one, a little tricky. I have to tiptoe around that one a little bit, There's certainly there was a lot of hesitation at first accepting the role. And I had to, there are a few things that I wanted to make sure everybody was cool with before I got into it, because it's a delicate situation. It's something I've always wanted to be a part of Dragon Ball, but coming into it that way is kind of strange, but also I wanted to, approach it respectfully as well, and the other thing that's really hard is there have been a couple of other people that have voiced the character, and so I can't really do 100% an original, like my version of, I would love to do that, but because it is so popular, I have to look at all of the people that have done it. I will say I'm leaning a lot more on the tones that I'm hearing from the original Japanese. I will say that. But I'm trying to balance it because I know everyone's used to, like Vic and some of the other guys that were a part of it. So again, I'm just trying to be respectful of it and just do what I can. I really was hoping that they would let me go through the movie. And there was a moment where they were going to, but then I think it was maybe Toei or someone in Japan. I was like, no, we're just going to move on and try to, kind of clean slate, sort of. So I've done the games so far, a few games, and I don't know who did it. Somebody hacked their system and found some other takes and stuff like that. Yeah. I did post, because they didn't really have me audition. I got a call from Toei that was like, kind of filled me in the situation and was like, hey, this is going on. So for me, I did want to look at the movie and look at some of the stuff, and then they didn't ask for an audition, but I put together kind of an audition, and I was like, well, let me see some of the stuff, and I'll lay down, what I think I would do, and after I did my research. And so I did. I laid down some of that stuff. I tried to post some of it online, but then they were like, don't do that. But I think now it's okay. It's still a little bit of walking on eggshells, just because of whatever. But I'm going to do what I can, my best, and hopefully people will be okay with it. I'm not going to please everyone, but I will do what I always do. And I'll give it my very best and hope people like it. You know? I just want to be believable in the character.
Which was your favorite movie to work on?
What was my favorite movie to work on? Oh, gosh. Hey, that's a perfect time to plug my film. Actually, that was the hardest thing I've ever worked on in my entire life. Definitely not my favorite. But I'll just tell you why. I don't know what my favorite would be, really. That's hard. Gosh, I don't know. I don't know, because movie, it's strange. When you've done, I've been very fortunate to be able to work on a bunch of things, and I kind of have to think through, and I'm like, oh, I kind of like that. The Trigun movie was kind of cool, because it was a long time since working on Trigun and then being able to go back into it. Code Geass was a little tricky. It was a little scary, because when I was like, well, who's seen Code Geass? All right, so a few of you. But, you know, you guys know how it ended, right? And then when I heard they're making a movie, I was like, but wait a second.
That's not how this
Hang on. You know? And so I was a little scared. But then what they did, I was like, okay. There were a couple things in there that I was like, that doesn't make sense. But in general, I thought it was all right. The My Hero movie, coming in there to play Nine was pretty cool. Come in and be a villain, of course. Well, that's not long. But that was fun as well. Okay, Arc Exodus. I'll tell you that. So I've done a few things, like I don't know if you've heard of like The Order, or I've been a part of some other Kickstarters, or Legend of White Dragon and things like that, and there were changes, and some things fell through, and SAG shut one of them down. So there were a bunch of people like you that had supported projects like that I was a part of, but I wasn't running. And then they either fell through or whatever, and I just felt bad, because this was like the third or fourth time that people have donated towards some kind of crowdfunding thing, and nothing came of it. And it was, again, I wasn't controlling it. And so I thought, you know what, I feel bad. You know, these people have been there to support me, they've supported my career for 25 years, and so I'm just going to put my own money into something so that nobody has to pay for it. And so the goal was to shoot an action film, so I had another partner who was going to put in half the funding. I paid for half the film, and prepped for about 10 months in 2019. And then a week before shooting, that partner left and all that money. And so I was stuck with like, okay, so I can't shoot the same film now because I don't have as much money anymore. I was also in a foreign place. I didn't know anybody. I had to find out where my money was. And so instead, in 1 week, I came up with a different script. I don't know if you know Kyle Higgins, who also wrote the Power Rangers, you know, some of the Boom comic stuff, and kind of really the Shattered Grid stuff. And so he helped me with the script as well. And so 1 week we came up with a sci-fi project, and it's called Arc Exodus. It's spelled ARKEXITUS. And it's on YouTube right now. YouTube did a weird thing when I uploaded it, so it's a little funky, but if you want a higher resolution, you can see that on Vimeo, which is also on the YouTube description. But yeah, so I put together a film as kind of like, here, thank you guys for supporting me in my career. It's a little idea. So it's a short. It's a 40-minute short, so it's not that short, but it's a little bit of sci-fi, a little bit of this and that. But everything was literally shooting from the hip, making it up on the spot, and also like, hey, what do we need tomorrow? A portal? Okay, let's go to Home Depot. And then so we'd go buy some stuff from Home Depot, and then in the morning we would build it, or that night we would build it, and then we'd shoot it the next day. And so it was like that every single day until we had finished this thing. And at the end of it, I didn't know what to do, if it was any good or anything. And so once I cut it together, I sent it to some festivals, and we started winning some awards. And so I thought, okay, well, maybe I should just release it. You know, maybe it's good enough to give to everyone. So that's what it is. So if you want to go check it out, it's on YouTube. I would love for you to check it out if you have 40 minutes to burn. And if you enjoy it, give us a like and a comment, because we would like to continue it for sure. I'd actually like to reapproach it with actual time. But anyways, enough of that. Yes? Green hair.
What would be your favorite fight in Bleach?
Favorite fight in Bleach? I think probably, oh, that's a good question. There's a couple that come to mind. There are a few later on that I really enjoyed, but I think it was when the first time with Byakuya, when Halloween started to come out, that was like, that I was like, oh yeah, this is kind of cool. It felt good, you know, it felt good to kind of like, because Ichigo had a certain way of fighting, you know, and then to have that other character come out of him and get to play almost over the top and above that, it just felt really cool, you know. So that definitely is one that is a highlight for me in my mind. Yes.
Who are your favorite Danganronpa characters, and do you wish Rentaro got more screen time?
Hajime
Yeah.
is my favorite. Actually, I really like Rantaro. But yes, he did not live that long, or last that long. Who's played it? Sorry, I just ruined it. For the 5 of you, you already know, but everyone else, sorry. It was fun. I enjoyed it. Let me tell you this, though, which is kind of funny. Sometimes in those games, they don't tell you the title, and I don't remember, to be honest with you. I do remember recording it now, but I'll just briefly tell you. I was at a convention, and somebody slid across Danganronpa 2 across the table for me to sign. And I was like, and I looked at it, and I'm like, I don't think I was in this. And they're like, no, you're in this. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I know what I've done. I don't think I've done this. And they gave it back to me, and they're like, no, you've done this. And they looked it up online, and they showed it to me like this, and I was like, okay, what's your name? And then so like, that night, I was like, oh my gosh, what was that? I have no idea. So I had to like type it in and look it up, and then I'm like, oh. So sometimes with the games, they try to keep everything top secret. So they won't give you the title. It might be like Namco game or whatever, or they'll just use like DG or something, just to keep it under wraps, you know, because we really aren't supposed to talk about anything until it comes out. So I didn't even really know the title or didn't remember it, but I do remember working with Tony. That's when I was like, oh, that's the one with Tony. That's the one that I felt like, it felt very Persona 4-ish to me because it was like a mystery and it was like dark. So it took me a while to go to figure out what that was. Because in that game, I think I only worked maybe like 1 or 2 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's just like, you just go through it, you know? All the different reactions and all the things that happen throughout, you know? But I do remember going through that with Tony Oliver, yeah, at Bang Zoom. But it took me a while. It wasn't really until, then I did the animation, I got to see more of it. And then, of course, when people started posting it online on YouTube, I was like, I'd watch it. So that's what happens a lot of times, because I don't always get to watch them, you know? Even like Demon Slayer, right? Because my character isn't there a whole lot. Some of the questions from yesterday, I was like, gosh, I don't even know if I know what that is. And so, like, and I've been going through it on Netflix, and I just haven't watched it all because I started watching Squid Game, and I just finished that last night. So now I can finish up Demon Slayer and be like, all right, now I know what's going on. Because my character, again, isn't always around, and we don't get a script. That's the other thing that maybe you don't realize. If we got a script, and we can read the script and know the story from front to back, then that'd be different. But we don't. When we go in to do anime, we don't know what's going on. You know, unless we do our own research, which I often do, but even then I didn't know everything that was going on. So then I would just go in and I am like my character. I only see what happens when my character is there, unless I watch it. And that's one that I've currently gone through on Netflix. But the movie's not on it. The movie's on...
Hulu.
It's on Hulu?
Yeah, so it's labeled under season 2 sub.
On Hulu?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Then I can watch the movie on Hulu then. You had a follow-up?
Yeah. Was it weird playing a protag and a villain in Persona 4 with Dachi?
It was strange. It was, well, see, in Persona 4, I only thought I was voicing Adachi. They weren't like, you're going to do multiple characters. They were like, you're voicing this character. Adachi gave me a description of what he was like. And then I just did that. And I wasn't thinking, which usually you do, but I wasn't because nobody said anything to me. So I just thought I was playing one character. So I didn't think about my range. I didn't think about leaving space for another character, really. And so I just kind of played them all over wherever he needed to be, or wherever I felt like he needed to be. And then it wasn't towards the end of that session where they were like, all right, we're almost done with Adachi. As soon as we're done with that, we're going to do the protagonist. And then I started to panic. I was like, oh my gosh, wait, what? What does the protagonist sound like? And I'm starting to think of, well, I don't want to do a cartoony voice. That's going to be ridiculous. They're like, oh, don't worry about it. It's, it's mostly just call-outs and shouting. And I was like, okay, good. I can just pitch him down and make it gruff, and it doesn't matter. which really didn't matter too much in that first game. But then, of course, more games came out, and then, of course, the animation came out, and then he's talking to himself, and if I had kept him the same. So I had to really separate them in the animation. And that's where some people were like, he forgot how to do the voice. I was like, no, I just had to separate them because then it would be really weird to have me doing the same voice, you know. But it was tricky. It was tricky, but it was fun. I would basically, in the animation, I did the same thing I did in the game. I did Adachi first. And then within the episode, I did Adachi first, then I would go through and do Narukami. But I enjoyed the animation as well, because there's a lot more just Narukami silliness. Bleach, yes?
Favorite scene or best experience for working with Code Geass?
Code Geass. Favorite scene? Not everybody has seen it. But the ending to season 2, that pulled it all together for me, you know? I can't ruin it for you guys, so sorry. You should check it out. If you haven't seen it, you might think, oh, it's a mech show, I don't want to watch it. No, it's good. It's really good. It's not a mech show. It does have some mech in it, but it's a cool series. It's I say it's like the Breaking Bad of anime, you know? It's like you're following basically the antagonist, but then it all wraps up nicely at the end of season 2, and it just lays it out there like, that's why. It all makes sense now, you know? It's really cool. You should check it out. Not just because I'm in it. Yes?
What is your method for coming up with the voices for different characters? Like, how do you decide how each character is going to sound?
It depends on many different things. Sometimes if I get it, if the question was like, what's the process of coming up with a character? So like occasionally I'll get an email that's like, here's an audition, and sometimes those, of course they'll have like some sides, which is basically dialogue for the character that they want you to lay down, audition for, and then a lot of times they'll have a picture of the character. Not always, but a lot of times they'll have, especially anime, they'll have a picture of the character, so you can kind of look at the character and go, okay. I tend to look at that and then I try to find out what the name is, and if they're trying to keep it secret, I try to find out any information like, hey, this is a vampire, whatever, anime, whatever, and then I look it up and see if I can locate that same character and try to see what that person did and what that tone is like. Just if I can, you know, and if I can, then I like to watch a little bit just to see what it's about. I don't always get to do that, but usually I try to do that, try to do some kind of research, and sometimes they will send like the original, like if it's if it's Japanese or whatever, they'll send us that too, so we can kind of hear the tone. They don't always do that. And then if they don't, if it's like an original animation, then you just kind of look at it and go, all right, well, how old is this character? You know, what's kind of, and then you decide from the dialogue or whatever the description is, what's this character's backstory? You know, is they someone who is book smart, you know, or street smart? You know, there's a little bit of slang in this character. You know, is he a little gruffer? Is he younger? Pitch him up or not? You know, so then you just kind of make a choice. And sometimes they'll let you do a couple choices and you send them one. I typically just go, I'm just going to give you one choice, you know, because this is what feels natural to me. And then if you like it, cool. And so yeah, I just kind of just go for it. That kind of reminds me of a story. So Black Clover, I remember getting an email that they wanted me to play Zora in Black Clover. And so I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that sounds like fun. I don't know what the show's about yet. So I did some research and looked it up a little bit. I couldn't find it, the animation, the anime, so I couldn't really watch it. But I started reading up on it, and I saw a picture of the character. And so I was like, oh, okay, and he has, you know, he's got that mask, he's got the teeth in there, and he just looks really cool. And I was like, this looks like a cool character to play. I want to try this, you know. So I started making up, without hearing anything, what I felt like the character should be. And then, of course, when I went in, then it wasn't what my director wanted to hear. Not 100%. He was like, it's not bad, but I was thinking more like this, which was kind of different from where I was at. So then the trick then was for me to go, all right, then I didn't want to fully go to the place where he wanted to go, because it felt too clean for me, you know. And so I had to like weave it together. Some of what he wanted, some of what I wanted. Then we found a middle ground, and he was like, "That's it, right there. Remember that. That's the spot, you know." And so You know, usually the first episode is when you work out all those kinks. But yeah, I guess that's a little addition to what you were asking. It's certainly a lot of fun. My job it's pretty cool. I get to just play pretend for a living. It is fun, and I know that a lot of you want to get into voiceover or even just acting in general. And I say go for it. And go for it, whatever it takes. You know, if you need to put together a demo and try to get an agent and submit that to a studio or whatever, yeah, just try. Whatever. What's the worst that's going to happen? I say no, right? It's already a no if you don't try. Yes?
Is there a series that you've ever wanted to work on that you just never got the chance to work on?
I don't. Well, I get Spider-Man. I've always wanted to do Spider-Man. I got to voice him in a small thing a long time ago, but not just that, but just superheroes. I read comics when I was younger, so yeah, any kind of superhero. Eventually, I got to be Iron Fist, which was cool. But just being able to be in those universes a little bit is kind of cool. Like to be able to then go, I'm in Star Wars universe, sort of. I get to be a Mandalorian over here, in a video game at least. Anime-wise, oh gosh, I don't know. I just take whatever, I see, I audition for, and I'm like, well, if I book it, then awesome, Earlier on, when you first start off, you audition for all kinds of stuff, and you hope for it, and then you don't get it, and then you just get down, and then you're depressed. So when you do enough of them, you get to a place where it's like, you just do them, and then put them aside. Hey, hopefully I get it. And then if it comes back around, you go, okay, cool. Otherwise, it's fine. You just move on.
It is hard to top Power Ranger, though. I will say that.
Starting off with Power Rangers, yeah, that makes it a little tough.
Yeah.
I jumped on a moving train, because I came in on second season, so it was already pretty hot, and then it just kept on going, It was fun though. Power Rangers was super fun. I had a great time. I know some of the other guys complained about it at first, not everyone, but there were a couple of guys that didn't like it at first, but now it's like, oh, it's cool again, I'm cool with it. But I've always been cool with it, I was very excited to be a part of that, and super excited to, just have that, There was, and I mentioned this yesterday too, there was a time, and you guys might even remember, when Power Rangers was not cool, And then eventually it was like, then they had it at Hot Topic, and it was like, hey, it's retro now, It's like now everybody's cool with it, Because now everybody's okay with admitting that they watched it. But it was the same for me, because like I was on the show, it was really cool, and then as soon as I left the show, then it was not cool, and it was really hard for me to get a job. This is weird for me to say, but there's a couple of years where I was virtually homeless. I was living with whoever would let me stay with them. I had a broken cot and 2 trash bags and a guitar, and I just kind of was living wherever I could live. And I was like, man, I don't know if I can do acting anymore. It was a struggle. It really was. And then fortunately for me, I started a band, I Shine, which became Where Giants Fall. But then the stunt guys from Power Rangers wanted to shoot an action film. And so they hired me because I could do my own stunts. And they're all Japanese. The camera was Japanese. The sound equipment wasn't, so that didn't work out. And so I had to dub myself in this movie that they made. So as I was dubbing myself, the producer walked in, heard my voice, and he was like, hey, you've got a good hero voice. I want you to come audition for this animation. And he played this animation. It had like a very low-pitched American English accented character, and then they played the Japanese, who was much goofier and higher, and they said, I want you to do something similar to the Japanese if you can for this audition. And I did, and I booked the role for Vash and Trigun, and that was the door opening up for me. And then they were like, hey, we heard you in this. We want you to audition for this role. We heard you in Trigun. We want you to audition. And that opened it up to more and more and more things. And then I realized, well, it doesn't matter, what I look like or any of that. I can play any character in voiceover. So then I just was like, well, then this is what I'm going to do. So really, my whole career is just mistake after mistake, and just trying to capitalize on it, Been very fortunate, man. I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for all of you. I wanted to say thank you so much for just watching the shows. And I'm glad that you like some of them, especially Bleach. I would love for this to come back and for us to get to do it again. Yes?
You can answer a character if you want. What was it like to work, just the overall experience working with Roger Craig Smith, Shinji, that whole experience?
Roger Craig Smith, I worked with him on a couple other things too. That guy is just funny. Just like always. Like I don't think I've ever seen him not be funny. But he's great. He's great. Actually, he was the one, he's one of the rock stars, right? Advisors.
Yeah,
Shinji, yeah. Right. Oh, yeah, because he was up there, it's like, so you finally decided to join, yeah. So, yeah, when Ichigo goes in there, and I'm just briefly going off, slightly off topic, but there's, in the script, there were 2 flaps, you know, and the script said, no way. And for me, it didn't feel right to just be like, no way, I'm not going to join you, right? And so it was like, you finally decided to join me. And so instead I go, bite me. Because it felt natural to me. And then Wendy, who was directing, she was like, okay. I was like, all right. And they used it, and I was like, all right, cool. But it got to be more and more like that. And eventually it was just me in there, you know, and Wendy wasn't directing anymore, and Susie ended up directing, who was an engineer and director. It was just fun. It was a fun time. Roger's awesome. He's very awesome. He's super fun. If you just reading his tweets. Yeah, he's just always hilarious. He's a great actor too. Really good, really good. He can do all kinds of voices too. I'm a little envious of him. Yes?
Do you have any cool memories of being a Power Ranger?
Yeah, I mean, I got a lot of cool memories. Which one do I tell?
What about the first episode you did?
The very first episode?
Yeah, the one where you came with the 2 other actors.
The Ninja Encounter?
Yeah, that's the one.
It was pretty fun. Man.
Were you kind of nervous at first? Not sure what you were getting into?
I was totally nervous. Look, so you got to imagine, so this is something I always wanted to do. My dream was to do martial arts action on film. Like I wanted to do like Jackie Chan, like I grew up on Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee and Samuel, like all those guys. And that's what I wanted to do, you know? And so to be there doing that was really a dream come true. But it didn't sink in right away because we were working long hours, like every single day throughout the week. And so I was just always busy. And it was that first episode, and I had these rollerblades on. I'm like going around in this park trying to figure out how to use them because I didn't rollerblade. So I'm like, how do I rollerblade? I'm trying to learn. And they're setting up lights. It's early in the morning. The sun's starting to come up. There's dew on the grass. And then I stop, and I'm looking around, and I realize where I'm at. And I'm like, well, I made it. You know, like I've been dreaming of this forever. And people throughout my life are like, no, you can't do that. You're from Texas. We don't get to be in movies and stuff. And so to finally be there and accomplish a dream like that, I was like, holy cow. You can accomplish your dreams. You know, those things that you're really passionate about, you know, really, if you keep trying, at some point you're going to find a way to get there. You know, it may be straight through it, maybe all the way around to get there, or maybe through the back door or whatever, but you'll find a way to get there. And so really, that moment, it just hit me hard, like, whoa. Like, okay, what's really stopping any of us from accomplishing anything? You know, it's that mentality that if you tell yourself you can't make it, you know? Because I heard that in my own head. Like, there's so many doubts when the audition was to come out to audition for Power Rangers. I remember thinking in my head, you're never going to get it. I'm just hearing all these people that told me already, you know, as well, just playing over my head, you're not going to do it, you're not going to make it. But I was like, whatever, I just got to try at least. I told this the other day as well at my other panel, but there was a guy a few years ago that came to a convention, and just like me, he saw the article in the newspaper. But unlike me, he didn't go. He wanted to, but he listened to the voice in his head that said, you can't make it, and so he didn't go. And so he kind of regretted it for a long time. And so I'm grateful, I'm sad for him, but I was like, hey man, if you hear that doubt starting to sink in there, take hold of that. You know, you're in control of that. And say, wait, you know what? I'm going to try. Anyways, that's enough of that. Yes?
If you were in the Soul Society, what would your Zanpakuto power be, and what would the spirit look like?
Oh my goodness! I don't know.
That's the best question.
He was ready too. He had a whole perfect speech about it.
Magnificent.
What would it be?
Do you hold a big sword or a little sword?
Just get near.
It's like a Swiss Army knife.
You become Nero.
Huh?
You become Nero, turns into a gun.
I think, well, I mean, it kind of, well, he's got the full hollow thing. It's all screaming. I don't know, you know? I don't want to imagine it because I want to see what they're going to do. I'd like to see them do something. All right, so if I was, I don't know, I'd have an even bigger sword.
Power Ranger for a spirit.
It'd be all my anime characters. And I could just like scroll through and choose which one. If
Yeah.
Ben 10 of anime.
I actually wish they could do that. I wish they could do that in some of the games that I'm in. Like call upon the other character. Yes.
Okay, so this is a question from my friend. If you could make a new weapon for Nero, what would it be?
A new weapon?
A new weapon for Nero, yeah.
So not no sword, no guns, or a new, just a, whatever.
Sure, yeah.
Gosh, okay. New weapon for Nero. The thing is he's got so many, so many gadgets now from 5. That, I didn't expect to think creatively.
Or it could be like a new gun or a new sword or something.
Yeah, all right.
Lawnmower.
Dead weight, it's fine, right?
We call it dead weight. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know what it would be. I have no idea. I can't even come up with anything. Because I feel like he's got all that you... What do you want? You want a sword? He's got a sword that you can rev. And he's got a gun that has 2 barrels. That's already pretty sweet. And then he's got all the gadgets in his arm, you know? Yeah.
What was the most vocally taxing role you've, like, ever
Broly.
done across your career?
Yeah, easily. Hands down.
Okay, second, after Broly.
After Broly, there's a game that I did. I don't know the name of it, like I told you. I know it was a Namco game because it was a top secret title, but it was a Namco game. And I got the call the night before. And it was like, hey Johnny, we just have some miscellaneous stuff. We wanted to see if you're available tomorrow to come in. And it's a video game, you pay more. And I was like, all right, cool, yes, of course, I can do it. And so I go in, don't know what I'm coming in for. And he's like, all right, you're going to be Goblin number 13. I don't know the number. It was like a number. It's like Goblin number whatever. He's like, over here is the table, and the table is full of scripts. You can go start thumbing through it and figure out what's going on. So I started looking through it. Goblin 13, where is he? All right, and it's like looking for lines, but it's all just vowels. It's all like O's, and then there's like O, A, E, and I'm like, what? E, I, A, and I'm like, what is this? And I was like, hey, I think there might be a typo. I'm not sure what this is. And it's like, oh no, well you're just doing goblin noises. And I was like, oh. And this was a while ago, and I'd never done any kind of like monster or character voices or anything like that. And so I was like, I don't know what a goblin sounds like. It's like, you know, like a goblin, And this was before Lord of the Rings, so I was like, gosh, I don't know. And then I panicked and started thinking in my head, like, what does a goblin sound like? And I remember, for whatever reason, it popped in my head that I had a guinea pig when I was little. And I remember it would always talk, you know, and I would always try to talk back to it. And so I was like, and then he was like, yeah, do that. So for like 4 hours, it's like, you're falling off a cliff. You know, on the spike. You know, on fire. You know, charging. Did that for 4 hours, shouting, screaming, goblin guinea pig. And then I couldn't talk afterwards for a few days. And I was supposed to start, like, to do like a young kid voice on a whole new series the next day. But because I didn't have a voice, they sent me home. They're like, yeah, no, sorry. And I was like, ah. So I lost an entire role because of this game that I don't know the name of. But that really took my voice for a couple days. And that was the first time where I was like, holy cow, all right, I gotta look into these games before I go into it. Because all games are shouting. Broly is for sure. It's like, Broly is, that's all I do. That's all I did. And for sure, for me, it's like, I need a break. You know? I don't know if I can talk after this. And with Broly, I need a couple days off after, if I'm doing his voice. Well, for the games at least, that I've done. Yeah.
What were your favorite character interactions in DMC5? And you have to answer it.
My favorite interactions were with Kitty. Actually, it's hard to do that in the voice the whole time. But for sure in 4, it was the interactions with trying to save Kitty and his passion for her. And that's what really hooked me into the game, was that right there. That's what I hung on to throughout, that game. And then in 5, the excitement was, I get to finally like come out and say who his dad is, experiencing all of those things on the day. Like I'm finding out that whoever, maybe I'm killing this person, or maybe this person is dying as a result of that, or whatever, like all these things. I felt them happening to me as I was playing that character, if that makes sense. Yes? Yeah, with the hat.
Okay. Did you have a favorite villain in Bleach that GTO interacted with?
Favorite villain? Like Grimjaw. Grimjaw's cool. Ukiura was also cool. I felt like the Ukiura's fight could have been longer. Like a lot longer. Grimjaw as well. I felt like that could last forever too. Yeah. I do like that first interaction with Kenpachi as well, though. I just found him interesting. Like, what if he figured out his Bankai? It's like, that's the end of Bleach, Way back in the back. Sure, take it. I threw it. Whoever goes. Fight. Sorry, what?
What's your favorite form out of Ichigo?
Favorite form? I do like, I just like Ichigo. He's my favorite. But if I'm looking at any others, I definitely enjoy Hollow Ichigo. He's a lot of fun. He's a whole lot of fun to play. But there was a lot of excitement to do the full, full Lord, whatever, with the horns and all that. Even though it was all just, it's kind of the guinea pig thing. I realized it's the same thing. But I got to make like strange noises. You probably can't hear it without this, but it's like I got to do things like that to layer in that character, just that weird demon or whatever. All right, so I'm gonna throw it back there again.
Okay, so how was your experience working on Nero and voicing Isaiah?
Isaiah? Isaiah was fun. Humans are so interesting. Really fun. It was tricky at first to just dial him in. Like I was like, who is he? Why is he? I was just trying to understand why he's doing. But that's his enjoyment. Is manipulating people. And I also just liked the look of the characters and the look of the world. But he was a fun character as well, for sure. Yes. How much time do we have here? You guys know? Oh, 5 minutes. You're holding the sign up. You're like, come on, look over here. Yes.
Who is your favorite and least favorite person to work with?
Oh my goodness. How in the world could I answer that? They're all my favorites. I really don't have a least favorite. I really don't. I don't think there's anyone that I could think of that is my least favorite. Yeah, especially with voiceover, and especially now after COVID. You know, I've just been working in my own studio, so it's just me by myself. You know. Have you asked anybody else that? Did you ask Todd that? What did Todd say? Todd must have said, he had to have said that I was his favorite, right? For sure. Right? Worst. He said I was the worst, wasn't he? Yes.
What was your favorite Bankai from the show? And what Bankai did you want to see that wasn't revealed yet?
I like to buy Bankai. Other than Byakuya's, Kenpachis, I don't know. I think they're all cool. They're all they're just interesting. Trying to think if there's one that I'm like, meh. I'll say Renji. Just because of Ichigo's relationship with Renji. He's like, yeah, whatever. Yes, the red, yeah.
What was it like coming back to the fan animation on YouTube?
Oh, yeah. Have any of you guys seen the fan animated 1,000 Year Blood War? It's like they did an episode 1 for it. I was at a convention. It was cool, by the way. So I was at a convention and somebody had mentioned, oh, this guy that I know is doing some animation. And I hear this all the time. I'm doing an animation for Bleach. And I was like, Bleach? And this was obviously after it had been gone for a long time. And I was like, oh, what does it look like? And he shows me a little bit of it, some of the clips that the guy has been posting up online. And I was like, wow, that looks pretty good, actually. And he was like, yeah. And then he's like, here's his number if you want to contact him. And I was like, okay. So I was like, so do they not have an Ichigo? I was like, no, they do. I was like, what? I don't want to take somebody's job, you know? And so I reached out to the guy and I was like, hey, I don't know if you actually have an Ichigo or not, but I'd be down to play it because I don't know if it's ever coming back. And he was like, oh, okay. And then he was like, but I got to replace the guy. Then that was, and I was like, oh, well, let me talk to him too. And so I reached out to him. I was like, hey man, if you want it, it's yours. But if you don't mind, he's like, no, do it. And I think they had him play another character, but I sent him an autograph and stuff just as, hey, thanks for being part of the stuff. I think it's still on YouTube, right? Yeah, I think it's still up there. So it's episode 1. We were working on episode 2. I already laid down some of the tracks. But then I think he kind of just stopped because the announcement came out that they were doing it. Yeah. There was even the petition, which I signed and I passed around as well. I was like, hey man, let's get it to come back. But he did it. It was pretty cool. I thought he did a really good job. It was all him by himself, animating this thing. Go check it out. It's on YouTube. It's pretty cool. And so I've got time for one last question, I think. Yes.
Out of all the characters you voiced, who was your favorite to voice versus your least favorite to voice? I know Broly's one of the ones that's least favorite.
Well, I wouldn't say Broly's my least favorite. It was just taxing. My least favorite would be Goblin number 13. Because I don't even know the game. So if you're playing a video game and you hear, yeah, that's me. The Goblin one would definitely be my least favorite. But my favorite, that's hard to choose because all the worlds are so different, So I have a whole bunch of favorites. And even some of the newer stuff that I'm working on is like becoming like one of those, okay, I'm really liking Zora now from Black Clover. I'm liking Sabo now as well. So I have a lot that Ichigo is definitely one of my top. Vash is another top. Lelouch is another one. Izaya is another one. Sasori is another one, yeah, absolutely, 100%. Now, I've been in Naruto like 22 times, and I die every single, except for once. I die all the other times. But there's one, Genma, who had the toothpick in his mouth, and I don't know, a lot of people don't even know that he voiced him, but I don't know what happened to him. He didn't die, he just went away. Yeah, he got a toothpick. Genma, yeah. He just left, yeah. In some of the games, he was like the announcer or something. Hey, I just want to say thank you guys so much for coming. If you get a chance to check out my film, Arc Exodus, on YouTube, please check it out, or the Bleach 1,000 Year Blood War fan animated thing. My band does have an album coming out hopefully this month. But thank you guys so much for coming. If you didn't get a chance to take a picture, I know this is the end of the day. This is free. Let's hop up here and take some quick selfies before you have to go, yeah? Thank you guys.